Okay, so maybe we could get started off with a couple of sun salutations then, just some nice gentle ones to warm up. But the kind of format of this session, just so you know, Lana, because I know you've not done one before, it's not really like a flowing class. It's more like a bit of a chat, a bit of a breakdown. And so if you feel like you're getting cool, just like put on another layer. Or turn up your heating. But yeah, it's not flowing all the way through. There's quite a lot of like stopping and talking and breaking down of things. But yeah, a couple of blocks will be good then, because the poses that I wanted to work into, and I think it's always good to get a good idea of hip alignment in the poses, and a couple that I think are really great for sort of demonstrating that point are the half moon, this one, and then the revolved half moon as well, which is, oh, this one is one that I find really tricky. Well, just my brain doesn't like it, but you guys might love it. So I try to teach where I'm not like, oh, let's just do the poses I like, because, you know, I want you guys to all enjoy it as well. But that one for me, I think, is a bit of a tricky one to have like the hips square this way and the body opening this way. I find it much harder than hips and body open. But we'll go through that in more detail later. But yeah, blocks are really handy for that one. Anyway, so let's start off with a couple of sun salutations and just get a bit more warmed up. So starting at the top of the mat, joints the big toes together, heels slightly apart. We'll make it a nice wiggly one to warm you up, Natalie, and loosen up some of those muscles. So let's take the hands into pistol grip, index finger out. Inhale, lifting and opening, tuck the tailbone down, squeeze your glutes, and just give a shuffle side to side, opening up through the shoulders. Lifting the chest up here. Exhale, softening through the knees, interlace the fingers behind the back, lifting the fist comes up and over. Just let the head hang heavy and bend the knees as much as you need to. You can gently nod the head yes a few times. You can gently shake the head no. And just feeling into any little niggly parts. If you want to have a little wiggle here as well, you can. And then releasing the hands down to the floor, stepping the left foot back, come into a long lunge. And then stepping the right foot back, come into your downward dog. Just pedal out the feet here, lifting the hips up and back. Good. Anything your body feels like it needs, so maybe you want to take the feet together, point the toes over to the left side, and then push back through the arms, bend the knees, hips towards the heels. Come back through the center, do the other side. Just take a moment to work into this one. And then when you're equal on both sides and you come back to the center, we'll just do a couple of waves. So I want you to think about rounding the back like a cat. So coming up on the tiptoes, shifting the weight forward, really rounding the back, coming forward, shoulders over the wrists, and then bending the knees, push back, tailbone up, come into a bit of a back bend, and then start to round through the spine again as you shift the weight forwards. And just work on a few of those. Yeah, so some nice wavy sun salutations. You can drop the knees if you want to, or if you want to challenge yourself a bit more, just keep those knees hovered as you push through. How's that feel? Good. Okay, so when you next find that you're in your downward facing dog, just stay there. And then we're going to step the right foot forwards. Come into our long lunge here, and then we're going to step the left foot forwards, and we're just going to fold here. We're going to bend the knees as much as we want to. We're going to squeeze the glutes equally. We're going to take a nice deep breath here, and then we're going to take our pistol grip and squeeze the glutes as we come all the way up and lift through the chest, and Samsiti. Okay, so we're going to go through that again twice. If you feel like you want to add in something else there, if you're like, oh, my body really needs me to lift up the leg and do a circle, like, do that. If something comes to your mind that you want to do to get yourself nice and warmed up, go ahead. Otherwise, just stay with me as well. It's still good. I think I am going to put a leg circle in because, you know, it always feels nice. So starting at the top then, index fingers out, pistol grip, squeeze your glutes. Inhale, lifting, opening up through the chest if you want to. And exhale, soften through the knees, interlace the fingers behind the back, folding forwards. Hands down to the floor, stepping the left foot back. And actually, let's take a moment here, drop the back knee, uncurl the toes, sit the hips forwards. starting to work into opening up through the hip flexor on the back leg, maybe feeling it in the hamstring at the front. And maybe we take our pistol grip again and just do a nice wiggle to open up through the upper body. Or maybe you like the hands on top of the thigh. Exhale, bring the hands down, tuck the toes, step back into your downward facing dog. Let's do 3 spinal waves, so really rounding through the spine, get the neck involved as well as you come forwards, and then bend the knees, tuck the tailbone back, push feet towards the heels, and then extend the legs, rounding through the spine, coming all the way forwards, and then tucking the knees, push your hips back, coming back. Let's do one last one, coming forwards, and back. Good, find your downward dog, lifting the left leg up towards the sky. And we're going to do a big circle, so I want you to bring it up and round like you're going to high five me on the camera, and then bring it back. Lifting it up, all the way round, and back. Let's do one more, up, and back. And then lifting it, and then find your downward dog. I'm just going to turn around so I've got enough room, and we'll do the other side. So, lifting the right leg up, or whichever leg you didn't do last time, and we'll do 3 circles, 2, and 3. And then we're going to step that right foot forwards, come into our long lunge, drop the back knee, maybe lifting the arms up, maybe opening out, maybe hands on top of the knees, and then exhale, stepping that back foot forwards, coming into our forward fold again. Please bend the knees as much as you like. Take a nice deep breath here. And then interlace the fingers, pistol grip, coming all the way up, opening through the chest. And exhale, Samasthiti. You want to do one more, or are you feeling nice and warm? How are you feeling, Lana? Are you okay? Okay, we'll do one more. We'll do a nice quick one then. So, inhale up. We're going to put in Skandasana now. Ooh, exhale down. Inhale, look forward, stepping the left foot back. This time we're coming up to a high lunge. Good, bringing the hands to the heart center as we move through, and then open up the arms into your Skandasana. Yeah, coming back forwards, top of your mat. And then exhale, bring the hands down, stepping back, lower knees, chin, chest. Slide the legs back, inhale, low cobra. And exhale, tuck the toes into downward dog. Inhale, stepping the left foot forwards. Coming up, high lunge. Shifting it back, Skandasana. Coming back again, high lunge. And then we lower chaturanga or knees, chin, chest, you can choose. Slide the legs back, inhale, low cobra or up dog, you choose. And exhale into your downward facing dog. Okay, we're going to come forward a little bit different this time, so have a look. I'm going to come up on my tiptoes, I'm going to lift one leg up, sort of like standing splits, and then step it forward. Then I lift the other one, and I'm just sort of tiptoeing my way forwards, until maybe tiptoes doesn't work for me anymore and I need to be flat on the foot. And I come all the way to the top of my mat, and if you need to bend the knees, that's okay. Trying to keep the hips square as you lift up. Nice, and when you get to the top of your mat, just come into a forward fold. Take a breath in your forward fold. And then whenever you're ready, you can come all the way up, take your pistol grip, lifting. And Samasthiti. So you're both absolutely sweating now. So you can have a sip of water if you want to. I think my water's like doubling up as a sound ball or something, like bing. Okay, so let's talk about half moon then. So I always accidentally call this crescent moon because in my head moon and crescent just go together, and then I'm like, oh no, that's a different pose. So this is called half moon, or ardha chandrasana is the Sanskrit for it. And when we come into this pose, we want to have the hips and the shoulders roughly in the same plane. Now sometimes what I see is, it'd be easier if I show you side on. I'm just going to bend the back leg for a moment, I think. So you can see here my hips and my shoulders are in the same line here, yeah? Some people will stick their bum out like this. Some people will have the back straight but the hand will be forward. Or sometimes people will get the hand really close to the leg, and then you see how sort of curved my body needs to be to kind of support this shape, and my leg needs to be bent. Otherwise I'm kind of down like this. So I actually used to be, when I first started practicing yoga, I'd be like, I don't want to use a block. Blocks are for beginners. And actually they're not. I use the blocks to go a lot deeper into my practice sometimes. They're just for support. So if you're someone who was like me and was like, I don't want to use a block, this is definitely a pose for a block, I think, unless you have outrageously long arms or outrageously short legs. So when we come into this pose, we want really to have the wrist under the shoulder and the foot underneath the hip. So you can check in with the alignment and just see if that's about right, or if you need to bring the block in a bit closer, you can see that's now bringing my arm at more of an angle, or equally if I'm over here, I'm at more of an angle. So when I get this position stacked, I'm like trying to see on the camera if that is stacked, I think that's right there. Then I can start by working into opening up through the hips. So imagining I've got someone on my, just cheating with the wall there, someone's hand on my hip and they're kind of opening up instead of dropping it down here. So lifting up and opening, and then again thinking about shoulders and hips in one line. So I'm not arcing through my back, I'm sort of tucking the tailbone under just a little bit to keep this nice line here, and then lifting up. So eventually I can gaze up to this top hand. So using the wall, because I think the wall is like a really handy one to use for this, you can push your foot into the wall. And I have to show you it side on, I'm afraid, but you get the idea from what I've just done anyway. So you want to stand about a foot distance away from the wall, so you can just check it by taking your foot up there, get your hand in the place that suits you, and then you start. So you can see that when you're here, and you can look at the camera if you have an angle good enough to just check if you're in the right line, or if you're sticking your bum out, or doing anything a little bit wonky in this pose. And when you push your foot through the wall, like pushing your foot flat in, you start to get a bit more support, a bit more control as well. So once you're there and you've got your block there and you've got your foot here, then you can start playing around with the rest of it without falling over quite so much. So, would you like to show me your half moons? Your ardha chandrasana. You can use your wall, you can do it without if you want to. Yeah, okay. That's fine. And if you want to try it later with the wall as well, you can show me. Just be careful of your pictures, Lana. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a good point, because I wanted to tell you about the back foot and where that's pointing as well, so this is a really useful point. So the front foot is, and by the way, I would say there's no one size fits all, because we all have different hip shapes and femurs and everything, so what might be comfortable for someone with their foot pointing forward, if you get that level of comfort and control and your foot's slightly in, I don't mind. It's only yoga, there's no yoga police. You're not going to die, and your leg's not going to fall off if you're in a little bit. But start off with the toes pointing forwards to the top of your mat. So your toes are pointing towards the back of your wrist. And the back leg, I'm so cheating with this one. Right. So the back leg, you see where my knee is basically pointing straight towards the camera. So that if I flex my foot, my toes are pointing towards you guys. Can you see that from here? Yeah? And so when I have my foot on the wall, my foot's going to be horizontal. Bah, like this. There we go. Nice. Now see if you can lift your top shoulder a little bit more, open up a bit more, Lana. Yeah, maybe bring the bottom hand in just a little bit. When I mean in, I mean bring it sort of this way. So it's more in line with the foot, and see how that feels. Good. And by the way, you can always bend your supporting leg if you need to. It doesn't mean you're not doing the pose. So If your hamstrings are tight, try that. Good. How does that feel for both of you? Shaking, yeah. It's quite a tough pose, hey? Nice. And with the back leg, we want to have that extension all the way to the toes. So for me personally, I don't mind if you point or flex the toes, or just make sure you're doing something. You can also floint, which is pointing at the ankle and flexing at the toes. So you can try any of those things. And just make sure you have that energy, that sort of line of energy that comes from the crown of the head all the way down to the toes. So don't forget the foot just because it's on the end. Good. And depending on what sort of style of yoga you like, I mean, Ashtangis, they love a flex foot. For me, I do actually like flexing the feet, and I do it a lot during my own practice. But more recently, I'll be pointing more, because I think we spend so much of our time with our foot in this position anyway. When we're walking, when we're sitting, we usually have our foot flat. And it's not very often that I do this, and now I've noticed that my point isn't quite as pointy as it used to be back from my gymnastics days. So I quite like pointing or flointing, but it's up to you. Okay, so you've done one leg and you're tired, so let's do the other side as well. Hello, you're all excited this morning? Yes. Okay, how's that feeling on this side, guys? Looks like really good alignment from here. Okay. That's good. And you want to challenge the balance even more, then you look up. And actually we find that when we look up as well, because sometimes when we're in this pose, I'm just going to exaggerate it just to sort of make the point a bit clearer, but sometimes when we're in this pose, right, and we start to look down, you see what's happening to my upper body. And then when I change the gaze and look up, we can actually find that we get a lot more opening in the pose as well. So, yeah, looking up can feel a bit more tricky for the balance, but if you're not looking up, just make sure that you are still sort of opening up from this space. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it is lovely. I love the sort of opening up feeling into this, and I like transitioning into a dancer pose from that one as well. So having the kind of opening of the hips and the shoulders to then squaring them off and closing them up and then lifting up that way, I think is a really nice test of the balance. So you can try that one as well if you want to. I'll just demo it very quickly. You're going to settle down. You want to join in. So we have from here, and then you start to support yourself by bending the supporting leg and looking down, squaring off the hips, bending the back leg, reaching back until you get that foot, and then start to let your eyes take you there. So I'm looking forward now, and I shift the weight back out of my hand and into my foot, and then slowly I start to lift up. Okay, so you can try that one as well if you like. And once you get there as well, as an extra challenge, you can try to then make your way back into your ardha chandrasana. Lovely. So kick the foot away from your hip, Natalie. Yes, that's it. Good. Can you lift the chest up a bit more? Imagine pointing your toes up towards the sky. Oh, lovely. Yeah, some days we have wobbly days. That's okay. Don't give yourself a hard time. Nice. Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that one could have a whole other section on it as well. Okay, we'll look at the revolved one as well now. And I quite like using a bit of the wall for this. But I think you'll be fine using that bit by your door, Natalie, because we're not going to be putting loads of weight through it or anything. We take the hand behind us, and then we square off so that my hand is touching the wall behind me. It's like this. And then from here, I'm just going to bend the same leg as the arm that's touching the wall. And I'm going to take my hand to the outside, and then I'm going to look over towards my back hand. Okay? And try to make sure the hips are square, the shoulders are square. Sorry, the shoulders are kind of opening up a little bit. And as you sort of push into that hand a bit, you can maybe get a bit more rotation into the torso, but keep those hips aligned. Okay, do the other side. Opening up here, nice supported twist. Okay, take a break. So that's the kind of feeling we want from the hips and the shoulders in relation to each other. So the hips are going to be square, but the shoulders are going to start opening. And so it can feel like a bit of a bit tricky to kind of keep the hips level, because automatically they're going to want to go where the shoulders are going. But by having that sort of alignment of the hip square, that's when we get into our twist. So that's when we can get more out of this pose. So for this one, we have the foot again on the supported leg is pointing forwards or thereabouts, and the back leg, the toes will be pointing to the floor. So when you have the toes and the foot flat to the wall, the toes will be pointing to the floor. Now, I always want to go like this because I'm just bendy, but I have to sort of check in and try and think about bringing the ribs towards the hips a little bit so I can get more of a straight line. So my left hand is a bit more out towards the side than what my foot is. So imagine the kind of like hip distance or shoulder distance. You see there's that gap there. So instead of like this, where I might feel really wobbly, I'm bringing it out towards the side a bit so that I can have my block underneath my shoulder and my leg and my hip are in one line. So from here, so naughty, aren't you? We come into this position. And at first, I just want you to just find your balance there. Adjust it if you need to. So maybe I need to bring my block in a little bit. And then from here, I want you to think about bringing the hands to the lower back and then just starting to turn the shoulders, lifting up the top shoulder and just noticing if your hips still stay square and then lifting it up. Now, if you want to do this with the wall again, you totally can. So again, just check the distance for your foot. Make sure your foot is in line with the hip. Let's have a quick look at it. That looks about right. And then from here, you can open up. So we're rotating in the opposite direction to the leg. So I think you need to rotate the other way, Natalie. Put the other hand down. Yeah, hang on, let me... It's so much easier if I do it rather than I say it. So I've got a supporting leg, this one, and the opposite arm is supporting. So the same leg that is up is the same hand that's down. So I come here, and then I open up. So actually I'm looking in the opposite way to the hand that's on the floor. Yeah? It's so hard for me to look and see which leg you've got up because you're all in black. I'm struggling to... But I think you've got it right, haven't you? The leg that's closest to the camera is the one that's on the floor. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So other hand on the block, Natalie. The leg that's on the floor, it's the opposite hand down. No, it's okay. Yeah. It's probably my teaching as well, to be fair. I'm like famously bad at my lefts and rights. Yes, that's it. Exactly. Yes, yeah. So bring that attention to your back leg, bring that energy all the way to the toes, straighten through your back leg. Lovely, keep the hips level and start to open up through the top shoulder. And if you feel ready to, you can straighten that arm up towards the sky. Good. Are you squeezing your glutes? Because you should be. Okay, can you lift that leg just a smidge more? Gorgeous. Okay, take a break. Looking good, Lana, nice. It's such a hard one, that one, hey? Yeah. Okay, switch the legs then if you've only done one side. I wasn't paying attention. I don't know if you've done both already. You've done both. Have you done both, Natalie? It is. And often people will teach it from one pose to the other. And that kind of makes sense because then the legs are similar, but you just switch the hands over. So it's not so much coordination involved to be like, well, which leg, which hand? Yeah, that's right, though. Yeah. I would maybe even bring that block forward just a smidge to get the... There we go. Now bring the hands to the lower back. Level off your... Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so maybe you can lift that top shoulder even more, open up through the chest. And it's quite tricky at first, so I'm going to just ignore my legs for a minute and just show the front of the body. Because when you're here and you're trying to think about keeping the hips square, automatically you're going to try and keep the shoulders square, right? And also you're looking down, you're trying to keep your balance, and sometimes the arm ends up over here. But sort of instead of thinking about the energy line going down this way, think about pushing through away from the block, and you can get a bit more lift here. And then as you start to look up again, you'll be able to open up a little bit more. Oh, they are good. Yeah, I think the cork ones are much better. I treated myself to some more in the MIGA Black Friday. I'm always like, guys, use my code, but also the Black Friday one is better, so if you're going to shop now, use that one. But yeah, they are great because they're non-slip and they're a lot heavier, so they feel a lot more supportive. So yeah, did you guys have any questions about either of those poses? Oh. Yeah, well actually I've got, so I'm really into neuroscience as well, and in December we've got some yoga for the brain classes, and when we're going to be working into the cerebellum, which is sort of at the back of the brain by the brainstem, we're working into balance and accuracy and coordination as well. So if balance is one that you struggle with, you should try and join those classes as well. And I've got a 30-day free trial on, so if you sign up before Tuesday, you can do all of those and see if you like them. But yeah, do you remember the Finding Your Balance sessions that we did before, Natalie, with the socks and with phone? So it's similar stuff to that. So we've got a cerebellum class, which is like that one that I did before. And we've got one about vestibular drills as well. So sometimes the vestibular system, which is kind of like the little organs in our ears that tell us like which way is up, basically. We're going to be working into some sessions on that as well, and that can really help to improve balance as well. Because I've been working into my vestibular drills for my own handstand practice, and honestly, it's made no end of difference. So I'm really excited to share that with you all. Get your bum away from the camera. There we go. Show the cute side. Oh. I think that's probably like the quickest Asana Clinic I've ever done. I'm always like, oh, I'll aim for half an hour, and then it usually ends up being about an hour. But I'm also happy to, answer questions or do any more poses if you want. If there's one that you're like, oh yeah, can we do this quickly? Then yeah, that's fine, totally. Okay, well, I think I'm going to not do Asana Clinic in December because I think there's so many people that are away, and it's tricky to find a time where people can do. But I'll be coming back in January with another Asana Clinic. So if you think of any, even as we're going along, if you're doing any of the classes and you're like, oh, I'm really not sure about this pose, just write it down or drop me a message and be like, can we cover this for the next one? Just as and when it comes up. It doesn't have to be like when I specifically ask you. You can just tell me anytime. But yeah, I hope that was helpful anyway. I hope you got something from it. And if you want to share a post on Insta and tag me and show me your new Ardha Chandrasanas as well, I always love to see them. But yeah, I hope you have a great day. You guys up to anything fun?